Hello, everyone. It's Leslie Flowers, Trailblazer for Women in Business. And this is Awakening Your Infinite Potential Telesummit, sponsored by Accelerate Experience 2018 event. I am absolutely honored and excited to present our speaker, Divya Parekh, who I have known for a number of years. Divya is a four-time #1 international best-selling author, keynote speaker, business relationship and book writing coach who has had great success with entrepreneurs, coaches, aspiring authors, and speakers. Divya's books and strategies have been endorsed by people such as Brian Tracy, Marshall Goldsmith, Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank, James Malinchak, ABC's Secret Millionaire, if you remember that, Sherry Wynn, who was a two-time Olympian, and others. Whether Divya is speaking, advising corporate clients, coaching business owners, or helping authors write their books and get them published, she has a message that is essential to bringing success to anyone. That message has 5 tenets. 1, servant leadership. 2, collaboration, not competition. 3, build relationships that matter. And 4, mindfulness works everywhere. Oops, and 5, knight yourself. So Divya, thank you so much for being here. You'll have to tell me what knight yourself means.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me on your telesummit. I'm super excited to be here with you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question when you ask me, what does knight yourself mean? So I have to go back to my childhood. It's a story from the play I was doing. And in one of the plays, I was in an all-girls school. So, of course, girls participated and role played as men sometimes. And I was a knight, and then here was a queen. She comes and I'm knighted. So basically, I'm a high-ranking soldier who has done really very well in battle, and now I go in front of queen, and then the queen takes her sword and goes, puts it on my head and says, by the power vested in me, I knight you thee. And after that's done, I was just kind of like talking with my dad and said, why does queen have the power to knight me? So it was just a conversation, and my dad went and said, you have the power to knight yourself. You don't have to wait on the queen. And that story and that message stuck with me for the rest of my life. So basically, knight yourself means is taking ownership of the message that you're living, of the story you're sharing with others, and knighting yourself.
As the best, as the royalty. No one can be a better you than you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm sure that was an awakening. How old were you? Do you remember when that epiphany occurred?
Actually, I don't. It was probably middle school, if I recall. One of those years,
Yeah. Well, so this telesummit is an inside view on experts in their industry, such as yourself, and how you awakened to this particular infinite potential that you're working in right now. And what was it like, and how did you recognize it? And once you did, what kind of action did you take? Because so often we don't know how. So I really would love for you to share where you began with an awakening moment that has you doing what you're doing now, if you would please.
Absolutely. So it's a long journey, and I'll share with you the 2 awakening moments involved.
Oh, thank you.
So there are 2 phases to my journey. So in the first phase, in 2008, a lot of layoffs were happening because of the economy downturn. Economy took a tumble, and as you all know, not a single industry was left unimpacted by it. And then what happened was, biopharmaceuticals, just like anything else, was impacted as well. And I come from a science background, and on that one of the days, I don't remember the exact date now, a lot of my colleagues were laid off. They were walked off, whole of their life, and one cardboard box. And that day, it just did not sit well with me because here there was a sword hanging over my head, like something happens, you can be laid off anytime. And something else could come on and I could be laid off. So in that moment of awakening, I decided that, you know what? There is so many things that I cannot control. But whatever I can control, I'm going to be in charge of my career. So that was the first awakening moment of my journey. And in that, as I explored, I found that coaching, where you are a partner with someone to help them get into their aha experiences, to step into their genius and have that awakening, which you're talking about over here. So it was so rewarding. I stepped into it. And then I'm not sure exactly, but along those lines, probably 3 or 4 years down the road, I was invited to participate in an anthology. And I thought that, I've written so many protocols, I've written so many reports, and these reports go to really very highly technical people. I mean, I've written everything under the
And
sun.
then what is it, excuse me for interrupting, what is an anthology for those who are interested?
Yes, so basically an anthology is a book that's co-authored by several authors.
Okay, good.
So especially for people like, who are taking their first debut, so to speak, in the book industry, it's really a wonderful way to start. So here I was, talking about the moment of awakening. Oh yeah, I've written everything under the sun for biopharmaceuticals and very confident because, when you, and biopharmaceuticals, and you've presented in conferences to engineers, PhDs, people from FDA, and you are called by the organizers year after year. So you kind of know that, something's going right there. You got it. I sit down and Leslie, I had a chapter to write. And I cannot tell you. And I had 3 months, okay? So it wasn't that it was a short time or anything like that. I typed, I wrote, I did journaling, I tried to use phone, I tried to use everything I could possibly think of. And every single time, I still remember, like, for example, having my notebook, writing into it and pulling the paper, rolling it, throwing it, then typing it up, like printing it, looking at my printed paper and just kind of throwing. It just was not gelling because I was writing about what is your why, talking about your vision and all that. So what happened was that as I was writing, I started evaluating my why. I started evaluating my vision. And I found that I was not in alignment with it. Wow. So almost 6 months go by and my publisher comes back and tells me, Divya, I think so maybe what we can do is you can join us in our next anthology. I think so we can keep the other authors waiting. It's been way too long. I've given you quite a bit of time. She was really patient. Awesome lady. Mm-hmm. Because after 3 months, she would reach out to me. I would say, oh, can you give me an extension? Can you give me an extension? So she finally lost it. Poor thing, bless her heart. She's one of the best people I've met. And then I said, okay, I'll just give me 15, 20 days and I'll wrap it up and give it to you. So being a scientist, as you know, you create a hypothesis and then you experiment and then you research, re-search, and search. So I went outside and purchased like so many programs from world-class leaders like, okay, how do you write your book? Because I wanted to do it right. And staying in that position of being right just didn't work out. And fortunately, my publisher gave me some more time and then I was able to spun out a pretty good chapter. And what I found was that as I was learning from these masters, the world-class masters, there's just so eye-opening. And kept on learning. I'm that kind of person coming from science. I gotta get to the bottom of the cause. Find out what's the root cause. What is it that's stopping me? Find out, what's the solution. And just kind of kept on going through it. And I started writing my next book. And I was still having some issues, but a whole lot more easier than my first one. Then one day I was sitting down with my coach. And that's one thing. I always have believed that regardless of how high up you go, no matter even if you're like in top 5% of the world, it still helps to have your own coach. Because just like a car, right? Regardless wherever you are, how many years you have driven, no matter whether it's a new car, old car, whatever car you're driving, when you're driving, you do have blind spots and you got to turn around to look whether somebody's in your blind spot. So basically, my coach said that, okay, how you're writing? He kind of helped me out. He was asking me questions of, okay, how do you want to write and all that. So we finished writing that. Then I finished writing another book. And the third book went really, really very fast and easy. And then we were meeting for our VIP intensive day. And, here he's coaching me. And then he sits down and tells me, you know what? I think there's something over here. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, okay, tell me, how did you write your third book? And I was explaining how I had used the process, and then how a good coach does, I didn't even realize it. And then he asked me, how did you write your second book? And how are you planning to write your fourth book? And as I was telling him, he told me, Divya, you already have a process, you're following it. So why don't you narrow it down? And why don't you, just like as you write the book, cement it, make it concrete, and see how it's playing out. And I started using it. And I have written 12 books. And every single time I use it has worked. So that was my awakening with the help of my coach. Sometimes you have the awakening, but you are unaware of it. So that awareness just so helped. And then I've been so fortunate to have helped scores of people to take their books from idea to becoming the platform of their business.
What I'm hearing here, I just love this, is that you continue to move forward as you were writing the books. And I remember the old expression, you can't see yourself while you're inside the picture frame, right? So no matter how good you are or expert you are, you want to have a guide, somebody who is looking for you to be successful, right? And is looking for your greatest good, a partner. And then, even though you didn't know this was coming, you continued moving forward. You had done the work. You had created the system but couldn't see it. And then it took that partner to say, you've got a process here. So really those are only two kind of simple steps. Once you had the awakening, was to just write and push through all those books. And the beautiful part was now you have a process. Do you use that process with people that are writing a book with you?
Oh yeah, I have helped scores and scores of people use my process. And most of my folks who came to me, and so many times they'll say, Divya, I don't know how to write. Divya, I don't have time to write. I don't know where to begin. I'm not an author. And they come with all these, how should I say, myths in their head. And I tell them, just drop everything. The key is that, you have just begun. Let this journey be the wonderful awakening process, because the way I work is it's just not about writing a book. It's about evolving yourself as a person. And what I've found is that every single time I've written a book, I have evolved and learned so much about myself, and even become crystal clear on some of the topics that I've been writing books about. Because when you write, there's just something about it. There's a difference about writing a blog. There's a difference in writing an article or even a Facebook post. And there's a difference in writing a book. There's just something so special about it. It's like birthing a child. Well, at least that's how my experience is. It's so special. It's like a little piece of your soul that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
And what's happening is, because that anybody can read it, right? Once it has left your hands, it's gone. I mean, of course, you can edit it and all that. But let's say, yes, you can even bring down a second round of edition. But the first edition, whoever has purchased, is gone. So when you're putting it out there, you are very much aware. You are very conscious. And sometimes you're in your zone of discomfort. And I love that. And you may ask, why do I say that zone of discomfort is good because, when you lean in discomfort, what happens is that's when the growth starts happening. And
That's right. Yeah.
that's when it's almost like, it's the same drop of water. That's how I see. The same drop of water, when it just drops in ocean, it kind of mixes, right? So same drop of water could fall in a pond and be a pond. The same drop of water could be in a uh, muddy hole, where the water is muddy, then it just kind of becomes muddy. And the same drop of water, when it done right, when you write the right book, it becomes an oyster. When it goes in the oyster, it doesn't become an oyster. When it goes in the oyster, it becomes a pearl.
Yes. Let me ask you a question. So if our listeners are thinking, I got a few ideas, but I really have no clue where to begin. Uh, Perhaps you could share what your gift is that would answer that question, if that is your question as a listener.
Yes, absolutely. So basically, what I've done is I have created a 5-day writing challenge that you can do in the comfort of your own home. And the key is making that commitment that, okay, you know what, whenever I start, I'm going to go through that every single day, because that's what's one of the key is making that commitment and keeping that momentum. So the gift is success.divyaparekh.com/5-day writing challenge. And I'll spell out my name.
Well, we'll make sure that it's on the page so that you don't have to, they'll just click and be able to do that. So so the 5-day writing challenge, so that you write each day, and then what happens at the end of that? Do they communicate with you? How does that work?
So basically what it does is it's a very simple writing challenge. It's not about writing. It's just helping them. So for example, it's also like about thinking simple thing. Like I'll just kind of share, like on the first days, like what is the mode of writing that you want to pick? So many people like to dictate into their phones. So many people like to type up because, then they don't want to re-edit it or retype it. And some people just want to find that wonderful notebook that may have a beautiful quote on the top of it, or it may have quotes inside it, and then write in it. So what we do is that, coming from science background, I have created the challenge in such a way that it helps you keeping that momentum going. And then by the end of the 5th day, you start writing your first paragraph of the book. Simple and small steps. And then of course, at the end of it, if you really want to continue working with me, there are different ways of working. I have video programs, your self-directed programs that you can do it on your own, or you can come and work with me. Because to me, it's all about you and your personal leverage as to how do you want to use it. What are your preferences? Because there's no one size fits all. The key is that, okay, whatever fits your needs, whatever works for you, you go for it.
I love it. So if there was one thing that you would share with the listeners about recognizing your awakening moment, how you know that's what it is, and what are the first couple of steps that a person could take? But typically, how did you know in the moment that when your dad said that? How did you know what to do next?
Well, again, I gotta share that, right? Because I had my dad by my side. So it was like I had a guide by my side. And he said that don't wait for somebody. This is what he shared with me. Don't wait for somebody, go knight yourself. And basically what it means is that taking the ownership. So when you have awakening, you're not going to wait for anybody else to come and do something to you or come and do something for you. What you're going to do is you're going to go in there. You're going to know that you are the most important person in your life, and you're going to do things for yourself. Because think about it. You have had this awakening, no matter what it is. Let's say you want to learn piano, or you want to, let's just take a simple thing that you want to learn how to sing, or you want to learn how to play a piano.
Right.
Not some, your music teacher is not just going to show up and teach you how to play piano. Now, the next step is you got to take action. So the first step is that when you have that awakening, you'll find that you're committed to yourself. You're invested in yourself. Because when you have that awakening, then you are ready to move forward. So the first thing is knowing that, yes, I'm committed to myself. And second is, yes, I'm ready to take that action. Because if you don't take action, and my dear friends, I got to tell you something. You are living a message. You are living a story. Whether you do something about it or you don't do something about it, you are making a choice. So many of us say, oh, you know what? Yeah, this happened to me. I can do this. And let me tell you one fact of life that my dad would always tell me is, Divya, doesn't matter. Whatever your troubles are, each and every person on this planet has their own troubles. Now, the magnitude may be different from their perspective. However, we are not in each other's shoes. So we don't know what our pain points are. So each and every one of us has that pains and struggles and sufferings and dreams that we can go after. So one of the things is that, you are the most important person in your life. So when you have that awakening, make a commitment to yourself and then take action. Because think about it, consciously or unconsciously, you are living a story.
Yes, and you are taking action because no decision is a decision. And that is fantastic. So the message then is, when you have that awakening, recognize it and move out toward it, right? And get
Right.
immediate action. Divya, this has been so wonderful. I am so excited to have you here and honored that you shared the two awakenings that actually moved you to where you are right now. And the 5-day writing challenge. To the listeners, I would say, if you have ideas, this will set you up. It's the preliminary required to get you in the right environment and mindset, if you will, to ease into writing. And Divya has written so many books. Her process works. I know that for sure. And if you need help, she'll help you too. So thank you, Divya, so much. I appreciate you being here. We all do.
Thank you, Leslie, for having me. I really appreciate you having me here.
Oh, you're welcome. This is Leslie Flowers. This has been Awakening Your Infinite Potential Telesummit with our speaker, Divya Parekh, and I will see you at the next presenter. Thank you, everyone.